Oh, and then I guess this is their upgraded version that we're looking at for the first time here with 5 cameras. Holy moly, 5 cameras.
Oh, wow.
S22 Ultra. Just Batman? Wow.
Interesting. Yeah,
Man, the
it's a
partnerships
Batman.
are crazy. They have Bridgerton, now they have Batman.
So that's bigger
14.6
than iPhone
inches.
Pro, right?
Yeah, we get a 12.8 inch on the iPad Pro. Hello, hello. I am Johnny Rodriguez, Strategic Innovation Director here at Fresh Consulting, and I will soon be joined by Elisha Terada. And I wanted to capture some live reactions as we watched Samsung's Galaxy S22 event. And there's a few different ways to watch that. From my understanding, you can do that on YouTube. They have it on TikTok and Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Twitch, Amazon Live. There's a number of different ways. But I'm choosing to jump into the Metaverse today, and I'll be using Decentraland to do that. So let me turn on my screen here so you can see what's going on. It says today's event features Galaxy Unpacked 2020 content in our connectivity theater. Yep, and an all new quest found in the lobby where you can dive deeper into our sustainability efforts. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump in here, and I will unmute in just a minute. Dive in. We're going to the theater. Throughout our space, there are 10 empty boxes that have been improperly discarded. Bring at least 5 of them back to me before Valentine's Day. If you do, I will turn them into a gift for you. Oh, great. Now go explore the world and help me turn hearts green. Red hearts green. Okay. Turning red hearts green. I think that's what they're talking about. Engaging, sustainability, things like that. I'm seeing some signs up here. To the yellow one. There we go. And the event is live, and I will unmute. Alrighty, so I have the audio coming into my ears, and for copyright reasons, I'm not going to play the audio. But I'm in the Metaverse with others, and they're talking about empowering people. Alrighty, here we go. Samsung and Bridgerton. The Samsung Galaxy S22. They're doing that through the Bridgerton reveal. She's saying it's beautiful. House the curtains. We need better lighting. Sorry, this is just reaction is live here, but pretty interesting to see what they're doing. I wish I could pass through the audio here, but night shots, image stabilization. She has no idea what they mean. And he's like, nor do I. This is pretty funny. I like it. Here we go. All right, let's see what this thing looks like. Ooh, a little rounded on the edges. The metallic sides. Ooh, we got the hole punch camera in the front. 3 big cameras on the back. That looks beautiful. Looks like 4 colors. S22, S22 Plus. Edge to edge display. Pro grade camera quality with multiple lenses. Okay. 50 megapixel wide camera. Wow. Enhanced resolution. Yep, so she's showing some night shots on the move. This is pretty cool. So as she's moving, they have that 58% wider correction angle. And so that video digital image stabilization is doing that stabilization for her as she's walking. That's a pretty good feature. AI stereo depth map is in portrait mode now, starting at the S22. So let's see the comparison here. Oh, interesting. They couldn't recognize things like a straw in the past, and now the straw is actually in focus and everything. So they're kind of showing that elements of what should be vivid. It does the object segmentation, and so yeah, you can see a pretty big difference in what was there before and after.
Hey.
Hey, Elisha, welcome. So yeah, this is a pretty good one to take a screenshot of here, but it's showing 50 megapixel camera, Elisha, on the back side, 10 megapixel on the front, 3x zoom, optical zoom on the telelens. The battery is at 4,500 milliamps, which is pretty good. We're talking 800 to 1,000 for their devices. Those are pretty affordable too. Oh, and then I guess this is their upgraded version that we're looking at for the first time here with 5 cameras. Holy moly, 5 cameras.
Oh,
S22 Ultra.
Wonder how many
let's see
cameras
what
we're
this
gonna
one
end
is.
up with.
Yeah. So they're saying that the cameras are embedded flat into the phone. which is interesting for having that many cameras. I do see it popping out a little bit, but maybe they're saying like it's not that big of a bump. Oh, interesting. They have a new algorithm to help with the display visibility inside of the sun. I think what they're basically saying here is it gets brighter while keeping the correct tones as you're looking in the sun or something like that. It's pretty smart. That does happen quite a lot when you're out and about and you look at that with your phone. Cool. So they're gonna talk about the camera. One thing that's been interesting so far is the space that the device has apparently goes up to 12 gigabytes of RAM, Elisha, and 1 terabyte of storage on their devices.
Oh, wow. I wonder if they're trying to make people download like a large sets of like shows or something and watch it.
I feel like it has to adapt given to the quality of the cameras and video and like how big the files will have to be to handle those. And so it's like you kind of have to include the storage just because the advancements in the camera are happening, you know?
True, especially with the movie files, I think, because they can take up quite a bit.
Optical image stabilization
Yeah.
through physical movement. Whoa.
Yeah, they have to now do everything that the DSLR did, but in a smaller
Yeah.
size.
It's starting to get there, right? Where it's like getting, it's like the camera results are pretty similar now, but as far as the feature aspects are pretty cool.
Yeah, it's also nice that they handle all the image stitching together for you, whereas this is what you used to have to do manually in Photoshop, where we feed in multiple images and then take the best like shade from each like a brightness and then compose it together. Now you don't really have to do composition in Photoshop.
Just Batman? Wow.
Interesting.
Man, the
it's a
partnerships are
Batman.
crazy. They have Bridgerton, now they have Batman, the unreleased Batman with what's his name from Twilight? Rob Pattinson. He used the rotate feature. I like to make fun of it, but it's pretty cool actually that they've partnered with that. Galaxy Tab 8 Ultra. Okay, they're using the word ultra for everything.
So that's bigger than
14.6
iPhone
inches.
Pro, right?
Yeah, we get a 12.8 inch on the iPad Pro.
Yeah.
That's pretty big. Oh, and it's pretty small bezels. But it's interesting. They didn't bring the hole punch camera. They brought the notch. Surprising when their phones don't have the notch. Do you notice that their cameras actually is made to be horizontal? Like on the iPads, you still have them on portrait mode
On the side,
at the
yeah.
top. And so it's a
Yeah.
little bit awkward when you do video calls. You don't like know where to look.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah,
this one has it on the horizontal side. I think that's smart to do. It's a
Yeah.
subtle change, but I think it's smart to do that. Whoa. What's this? Expanding your phone? Wow. That's pretty cool. You see that? The phone becomes the pen selection and color to your
Yeah.
tablet. That's a pretty smart integration. Front and rear cameras at 4K. That's new. Usually the one facing you is a lot less high quality. We've been getting like 720, 1080p on iPads.
Yeah, I wonder if they're letting you capture like maybe I'm trying to understand because I think iPhone does the 1080p because that's the resolution that gets streamed. Like even if you record 4K,
Okay.
it usually streams to the other people in 1080 or 720, right, on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if they're thinking that maybe content creators would use it in place of like digital camera shooting their YouTube video, or like, you know, there are some use case I think beyond just a conference call. Like they're kind of going for like this is a creator tablet, not just like, you know, not just like, oh, you use it to call your family kind of thing.
I like some of the words they use to describe it. It's the Idea Vault productivity engine, I think, something like that. They had some good words to describe that. Up to 1 terabyte. PC like, yeah, so it seems like it's definitely not like the family device or the professional device. It's the, are you a creator? That's not bad on the price, actually.
That's pretty good.
$1,099 for the highest end 1 terabyte version. Oh, they'll pay for your book cover keyboard. That's interesting. Those are like $129 or $329, something like that. Just look at that. So watch, tablet, phones, devices. They're saying it's an ecosystem, which makes sense. Everyone's talking about that.
Yeah, but I think Samsung is in a strong position because they own a lot of devices. It's like they're trying to become the Apple.
I don't know if I know many people that own a Samsung watch. Do you? Like a smartwatch?
No. I think my guess is that in US market, Apple is still the brand that's more desirable. Not just from like a spec perspective, but just in like general.
Culturally.
Culturally in appeal, I think it's better. But I bet if you go to Asia, you'll see probably a lot of more Samsung influence.
It's interesting because like you could be anti-Apple, like I don't like the iPad, I don't like Macs, whatever. But you might like the Apple Watch. But the Apple Watch requires the iPhone, right? And then once you have the iPhone, then you start getting the compatibility and the access to other stuff. So then you're encouraged to buy a tablet or like an iPad or a MacBook. And then it's like you're buying into it. They get you in with one device that's pretty awesome and powerful and stands out, like a watch.
Yeah.
I don't think I see that with Samsung. I don't think people are convinced by a watch. I think their phones are usually the entry point, or the tablets. Their tablets not so much, their watches not so much, at least from my perspective. So they really have to make their phones spec for spec better than all the rest, right? Bigger screens. They typically have the bigger, brighter screens, similar to their TVs. Samsung TVs are one of the brighter TVs. They have the most vivid colors. They're not the best televisions, and so anyway, just kind of standing out for certain elements. So kind of a smart thing for them to do.
Yeah, I think their strengths comes in like just owning wider selection of hardware than Apple. So like, your washer dryer, right, can be Samsung. Your TV can be Samsung. I think
Fridge.
Maybe less popular. Your fridge is Samsung, and luckily you could use just like HomeKits and like those like compatible networks, so you don't really have to get Samsung devices. But I think in some countries, like especially Korea and some other countries, it might make sense that you even have just everything Samsung. The only downside, or not downside, but maybe something the Samsung could never probably overcome, is the fact that they are still relying on solutions that are outside of their control. So for example, Android, it's outside of their control, and they can add more stuff to it, but it's still not their own controlled ecosystem. And I think the chipsets, right, they still rely on Snapdragon as opposed to like building their own. So I think they're still gonna be kind of stuck with how much they can do, but I think the benefit is also that maybe they can just focus on wider selection as opposed to like something where you're maybe stuck.
Yep, that makes
One
sense.
UI 4.
One UI 4?
UI 4.
What in the world?
So
that sounds confusing. I guess I don't know about One UI 3, 2, or 1. One UI 1.
Well, I think the thing is like Android itself, they don't control, right? So they have to kind of adapt to where Android is going.
Google, Android, right?
Yeah. I think that's the main difference.
That seems like it could be a big disadvantage, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like Google can make their Pixel phones more robust because they own the hardware. But then they're giving access to a company like Samsung to say, hey, we're going to run Android, right? But then you're limited in that, you're only as good as the service, the license you have for the device.
It's really good to have these competition for Apple because otherwise, Apple is the only one in the market that can do all the full ecosystem.
Yeah, and it that competition's very healthy to innovate and to move things forward. It's great to see it drastically better from a hardware perspective in certain areas. I hear that with the iOS, the leak yesterday that I read, Elisha, was that in the code they show that it will handle masks, but it's going to ask for an additional gesture. So it'll say nod down, look down. So you'll look at it and it'll know that it's you through your eyes, and then it'll say look down, and you look down, and it's a additional confirmation, which makes sense. So you're not holding up a picture, or it's like an extra way to do that. I wonder if that's like a movement fingerprint, if that makes sense. Like, oh, this is the way this person moves most of the time. And that becomes like a fingerprint in a sense,
Yeah, and the 3D, like spatial information that you can never mimic with the movie or photo because they're two-dimensional.
Whoa, that's kind of cool. Repurposing fishing nets, segregating, cutting, cleaning, extruding, and then turning those into parts.
This is also key part of like a corporate responsibility as I think hardware makers, right?
Focused on this.
Yeah, they kind of have to if you want support from consumers, because I think they're a strong voice.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, the boxes are good. I mean, this is also part of the reason we're no longer getting the charger box, right? On the iPhones and the Samsungs, where it's like, hey, where's my box? And they're like, oh, you have to have that already. It's true. Every time I have like 50 of those things around my house, and so I don't need it. But it's a way to reduce the size of the box. You're using less materials, and then you're not using an additional thing that gets manufactured. I know that was something that Apple did, and they got a lot of heat from it. But then, and I remember Samsung actually making fun of it or something like somebody like big company like Google or Samsung was kind of like, oh, we will never do that. But I think they eventually did. Everyone's eventually done that.
Yeah, I think Apple is always ahead in the game of like
sustainability, environment,
doing something new.
Yeah. Okay.
Especially with like EU.
Cool. So then I think it's gonna go on. I've now muted, so now I can hear you a little bit better, Elisha. There's actually those 10. Did you see the challenge this time? 10 boxes.
Oh yeah, I think there was some.
Like I see one right here already.
Right.
And I want to.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to do because I was like clicking on it.
A little confusing how they made this game, huh?
Yeah.
Last time there was something in here and it took you to some portal. You have to dance on it. Oh, I just did it.
Okay.
Here on my screen. It just spun around and I collected it. I'm checking it from all corners. So let's see if I can. Oh, that worked.
Oh.
So what I did, all I did differently is I clicked on every side. So I clicked left, middle, right, and then it allowed me to click it.
That's weird.
So I have 2 boxes. Cool. Well, that was fun to join. I think that's the first time we've ever done that, where we've joined inside of a metaverse environment and kind of try to consume a live event like that. Not sure we're going to see that from Apple anytime soon or from Google, I wouldn't say. So I think Samsung is actually quite innovative, in my opinion, by even doing this. And I think it's tapping into a demographic that's new, right? Like I think that's part of the appeal of this is like, hey, we could probably capture Gen Z, maybe younger millennials that might be spending time here that might find that innovative. It's like, hey, if the company's in an environment like Decentraland, like they must be doing some cool innovative stuff. I mean, that's kind of my opinion coming into this. Like, but no other big company is really doing that. That's releasing phones, and so it'll be interesting to see what kind of reward system they have. Because if they're like, hey, if you do all of this stuff, you have a chance to win a phone, right? Or we're gonna give out 1,000 phones, or you can get $100 discount on your device. Like that's a pretty big deal, I think, for this younger group of people. Or if it's more NFT based, like they did before, right? Like, hey, we have these wearables, epic, legendary, mythic wearables, and like, hey, this will unlock new wearables for you with benefits tied to them, like kind of some utility. Then I think that could be another really interesting way to kind of handle that.
And I think it's cool that they are kind of helping, the different kind of generations get interested in collecting wearables. I think that is kind of cool new way versus like get your free device. Maybe that's not cool to all the generations because maybe they don't really care. Maybe they already have iPhone and they don't care about Samsung device, but anyone can be interested in the wearables because then you're not thinking about like the device ecosystem and stuff, which I think we care. But maybe as a kid or as a different
you don't have a home yet. You're not probably buying all the devices.
Yeah.
Maybe to close, Elisha, one last question I have for you. You've seen the incremental updates every year on our devices. Yeah. We've seen more we've gone from the introduction of a smartphone that started to go to obviously higher quality materials, we know that, but bigger devices, bigger and bigger and bigger devices, more edge to edge, less bezel, an increase of camera quality and number of cameras and the ability of what the camera can do, right? That's video, photos. We saw, I would say in the last 2 years, we've seen some introduction of some new types of devices, of telephones, cell phones. I don't think they've caught on yet. Folded phones that are folded in half, tri-fold, Z fold. Samsung's done a few of those, Google's done those. Apple hasn't really jumped into those yet. Microsoft's done those. So my question to you is, we're at 2022. We're seeing some incremental updates. What is going to be the next big shift in like kind of daily wear, like daily care, phones that you carry in your pocket for the smartphone? Where do you think what are your predictions for like the next big thing that we're going to start to see in our devices that will become mainstream? Is it smaller devices? Is it more ergonomics of being able to fold it? Is it some other thing that I'm not mentioning? I'm curious on your thoughts.
Yeah, I think the phone form factor might change depending on the advancement of the AR devices. So if the AR device can cover the needs for like a larger screen, more immersive experience, the bezel-less experience, I think it might be better off where you put more effort into that in terms of consuming content. But obviously you still need a box, right? Like you still need the lens and camera and the box that has like the chipset to drive some of those. And maybe eventually it is going to be part of AR, but I bet that won't happen for like next 20 years because of the physical size limitation. Like maybe the phone that we know today can eventually become smaller, but I bet for next 20 years AR glass is still just going to be just a replacement of the screen. So I think phone is still there because you still need lens, you still need like tactical experience, and you probably can't make that smaller because your screen is still bound. But maybe your phone becomes more like just a remote, a remote with the power that contains like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth where you control it, but maybe you're not looking at the phone screen, but you're still looking at it from your AR glasses. But then I also bet not everyone wants to wear glasses to consume the content, because I think some people like themselves without glasses on. So until the AR glass become the lens in our eyes directly, like a contact lens, I bet phone form factor, the need for having this large screen in your palm is still going to be there. So it might just become like better resolution, faster speed, maybe not more lenses, but better lenses to replace old ones. Yeah, I just can't imagine form factor changing quite yet until the development of AR glass or the contact lens AR devices that just
Mm-hmm.
takes over and replace the need for having a screen here.
Yeah.
What's your prediction or where it might change?
No, I agree. Actually, I agree with a lot of what you said. I do think that the big shift will be with AR, specifically augmented reality. I do think that when we get a more consumer-friendly, normal-looking, pair of smart glasses or AR glasses, I think that the phone will become less relevant. It'll still be relevant. I agree that my prediction on that part as it relates to AR is it will play a large factor with AR. It'll probably take on some of the processing. I think it'll also take on other elements like providing a way to see, like a way to see your data that's on your device in AR, where your phone becomes kind of like the key to be able to unlock that information. So like seeing your messages, browsing your history, anything that's related to you, that's personal to you. I think the phone might be a way to, like, you'd still do the fingerprint sensor, or it might have a facial recognition element to it to be able to unlock that. But then you could see that in environments like AR. But I would say prior to that, my prediction is we're going to see 100% portless. Like we're not going to see any it's all going to be wireless charging. We already see the trend of Bluetooth headphones, and like Samsung has their version, Microsoft has their version, Google has their version, Apple has their version. So we've already seen the removal of the 3.5 millimeter jack. Now we've had that for a few years. That was a huge pain point. And then it's gone now. Now we're Bluetooth, and that's become more natural. And that's because there's been a lot of advancements in how natural that interaction can be. I think we're going to see the same thing happen with the charging port. We might see the USB-C on the iPhone before we see it get removed completely. But I think we're going to have completely portless devices, completely waterproof, that kind of thing. I do agree durability will increase for sure. But I think that they will be more the processing as we get better and better processing. Like imagine putting the M1 chip or the M1 Pro or the M1 Max chip on an iPhone. I think it'll be really interesting to see something like that happen, because theoretically we might be able to power it might be like the Mac Mini. Like my prediction is that phones might become the way that we've seen a few companies do this kind of thing, but it might be like plug your phone in wirelessly to a screen, and now you're running like a new version of Mac OS, or of like a full operating system that gets run at a decent speed. So it'd be like you're carrying a computer in your pocket. I think we're going to see that happen. I also think we're going to see elements, before we get to AR, I think we're going to see elements of I know a lot of people have done stuff like this, but I think I'll see it catch on, which will be something like projector. So being able to project onto a screen or project onto a wall. We've seen that kind of gimmicky versions of that. We've seen some devices start to do that, but I think that eventually will be mainstream. We'll be able to like project a high quality 4K 60, 70 inch, 80 inch projection on the wall to present at meetings, with your family, with your kids, that kind of thing, where the device doesn't heat up too much, and it handles quite a lot of that. I think it's not too far from that.
It would be funny to see a notification during the presentation from your phone.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I can definitely see portable devices, like more and more things going all in one.
Exactly.
I wanted to share this Leica phone. This is only exclusive to Japanese market, so you won't even see anywhere else. So the Leica is the Germany DSLR maker. It's like one of the classic ones, and their phone can cost like minimum 3,000 to I think up to 10,000 or 12,000 per camera. And what's interesting about this experiment that they did is that instead of making DSLR form factor smaller, they just put the lens into the phone. And I think this is kind of where part of future might be headed, where the DSLR form factor. So it's not the phone changing its form, but it's the other device that's changing their form into phone. So there are less and less devices that is merging into the phone. And I think it makes a lot of sense because phone is already a processor, same processor that's on DSLR. You can do the same in the phone, and probably even better because your phone can process things probably better, like do the HDR, like, or night photography, and advanced AI stuff is better off handed off to, like, these phone devices, as opposed to trying to build AI into the DSLR. Feels a little bit more awkward way of doing it. And I think the trend we might see is it's not just the 5 cameras or 6 cameras that we see, but it could be one big camera, or it could be different kind of sensory thing that's built into the back of your phone that might make sense to put in there in the future.
I like it. Yeah, I just pulled that up. It's called the Lights Phone 1, but it's the Leica camera. Wow. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Pretty sleek.
But
So less devices, but more powerful lenses. I agree. I think we're going to probably have full-fledged DSLR type, mirrorless type capability on a phone.
I think what people haven't maybe figured out, or it's not as large of a conversation that we have every day, but one of the interesting things, and I thought this is interesting that this was exclusive to Japan as well. I don't know if you know that there are some rules where phones created in certain or shipped to certain countries, they have to force enable the shutter sound of their camera.
I did not know that.
Yeah, in the US, you can just have a silent shutter. But for example, in Japan, you have to have a shutter because it's like there's some cultural problem where there's people taking photo of, the random person that they don't want to be taken.
Oh, like it's almost like a form of consent or a form of notification, like audio notification for somebody so they know it's happening.
Yeah, and that's like a more bigger issue, I'd say, in Asia than US. In US, if you go to Twitter, like everyone has their own, real photo of themselves with their lives kind of broadcasted openly, right? In Asia, you don't really do that. Like only if you are like public figure, or if you're trying to be like YouTuber or something, then you would talk about yourself more with your real name. But in Asia, it's common that you use fake name and you don't maybe even show your face at all. You might just show like, avatar of like celebrity or avatar of animated characters. So they're more conscious in terms of like, people taking your photo in public.
Yeah.
So shutter speed has to be, shutter sound has to be on. And I think Leica did something interesting here where it's super obvious that you have the camera lens. I think we are accustomed to seeing like iPhone having many lenses, but when you're in public, you're playing with your phone, like you don't really think about it much, right? But when you have that big lens on, maybe it brings a little bit more conscious attention.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really for photographer, because okay, if I'm a photographer, like a street photographer, I'm gonna have a big camera anyway, so that's not a big issue. But socially, it might be weird to be, flipping around camera with the big lens, even though we know that even though a small lens can do the same thing, big lens bring more physical attention.
Yeah.
And when we think of the future of AR glasses, it is actually weird to look into the void, like looking at each other in like a train, to be like consuming your content, whereas it is more socially acceptable when you're looking down, right?
It's like the social awkwardness of looking off into the distance.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that with the smart glasses that I had, the ones that I was using for like 6 months, where I would like look off to the side slightly to see my notifications, and so somebody would be like, "What are you looking at?" And it was obvious enough that like I knew there was some social awkwardness to it. So kind of an interesting thing.
So that'll be something to see, where we're headed. We might still prefer phone just because of the social cue, not because of technology advancement.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
cool. That was fun. It was good to walk through that again. Yeah, pretty cool to see the Samsung Galaxy S22 event in the Metaverse through Decentraland. Now the second kind of big event that Samsung has done inside of Decentraland, and got to experience that for the first time through that environment.
Yeah, we were looking forward to see more companies joining these, virtual events, not just Samsung. And yeah, hopefully we'll talk about more in our Twitter. Follow us on Twitter Space. We also write blogs and do more of these YouTube videos. So
Yep.
be sure to follow for more.